Hello and welcome to the Final Bell, the official Geelong Cats podcast. It is great to have you with us this week. I mean, it's great to have you with us every single week, but after a game like that, I think we're all up and about at the moment. I'm joined, as I am every single week, by Meg McDonald, our co-premiership flag unfurler ceremony. We got to hold the flag. We got to be a part of it. Joel was probably the star of the show, but it was great to be out there on Saturday night, wasn't it?
It was fantastic to be part of. Steve Hocking, CEO, asked me on my return whether I'd like to be part of it, and I mean, what a great atmosphere. I was lucky enough to be on field after the grand final, so to be included in that and then come back here and have a similar sort of atmosphere of celebration and well, people just love Joel, don't they? They absolutely. We all do.
We all do, yeah. I've got a couple of photos from on ground with me and Joel that someone else had taken, and I showed them to my wife, and she's like, yeah, all right, settle down. Okay, I get it. You love him.
Yeah, it was a special night to be part of. So we helped carry the flag with a whole host of people representing different facets of the footy club from past and present. That was special. I love
that. Past players, past sponsors or presidents, administrators, staff.
Staff.
I think some long serving employees of the club. Yep. I love that, having all those different facets.
Yeah, and we had to. I think we were responsible for trying to keep on task because I think everyone was just excited to be there, taken away by the crowd. But we had our markers to hit.
Yes, yeah, we got told walk really slowly first, and then it was okay. Now you got to hurry up a little bit. We've got to pick up the pace. You had the difficult task at the end of once Joel had done the unfurl and had gone up, you had to hold on to the end and then do the walk around because there was no wind on the night. It wasn't going to blow, so you had to sort of almost show it to the whole ground solo. Everybody else had run away from you by that stage.
I'll tell you what, it was an honour, but the pressure of the role. And I was also very concerned with, everyone's like, now, Joel and Meg will raise the flag. And I was like, no, Joel will raise the flag. It's not my flag. I look forward to having a flag one day. Yes, that's the plan.
You will.
But and stoked to be included, but very much a support role. And then I learned that I was to do 3/4 of the circle and back. I went a little bit fast if I had to give myself some RFIs because I was keeping pace with the way we'd walked out. Then the song stops playing, "We Are Geelong," and I'm getting excited about it, which I believe is celebrating its 60th year. I know, we'll have to get that confirmed. It's the anniversary of the song being written this year.
Yeah, that sounds right. So it was written, obviously it's the 60-year reunion of the 1963 Premiership team, written by somebody as part of that team. So that sounds right. I thought your pace was perfect because
thanks, Lingy.
For every 1 second that you were out there solo doing that walk around, probably to you felt like about 20 minutes.
Yes.
So I don't blame you for maybe picking up the pace a little bit.
I'd gone the maxi skirt. I was so concerned with not tripping on it. And then when I turned back, I don't think the camera people were aware that I was going to double back on myself. And I had eye contact with them. Anyway, there was a lot going on. But wonderful to be part of. And you mentioned that premiership team. I was at a function for the game and I was sitting on the same table as Fred Wooler and I know you ended up being able to have a photo with a lot of existing premiership captains.
Yeah, so that was really special. So going back a number of years now, I reckon probably 8 or 10 years, we got a photo with myself, Tom Harley, Fred Wooler, and also the late great Fred Flanagan, captain of the 51-52 premiership team. And I've got that photo. The four of us kept it. Yeah. Absolutely cherish it. On the night, Joel had organised for Tom Harley, CEO of the Swans, in a really tough position because he acknowledged he would love to have been part of that whole ceremony on the night, but it was playing against the team that he's CEO of, and we'd beaten them in the grand final, so he very politely declined. He came down, snuck down onto the ground, and took the time to get the photo with Joel, myself, Tom, and Freddie Wooler as the four living Cats premiership captains. I've got the copies of the photos now. They're beautiful. And Freddie Wooler's one of the greatest gentlemen I've ever met in football.
You told me that, and then to spend some time with him on Saturday night was a pleasure. And so shout out to his wife, Pat. She was beautiful as well.
I'm just going to, I've been quickly Googling.
All right, good.
Scrambling. John Watts, yes, past player of the Cats. He wrote the club's theme song, that's right, because I remember when John passed away, there was a bit of talk about the fact that he did it. He got together with his teammates during the 1963 season, so you were spot on, Meg, to pen the words to the song that we love, We Are Geelong. The tune is the Toreador March from the George Bizet Opera. I'll probably pronounce that one wrong. Carmen. So yeah, that's and we know the tune very well. We know the words well, but it was John Watts who did that one, and it was 60 years ago.
There you go. Actually, I think there's a movie adaptation of Carmen coming out soon, just for the movie buffs at home. So
Okay.
I'll go along and have a listen out for it. But it was a great night.
A great night, a great start to the night, and then it just got even better.
Oh.
I thought we were in. I was working on the night for Channel 7. I was down on the boundary, and I thought, oh, this is going to be one of those tough nights. They are going to be so angry what happened to them in the grand final last year. They are a competitive team. I know they were down a couple of key defenders, which was always going to be tough coming up against Hawkins and Cameron, etc. But their midfield was still very good. Tommy Papley's on fire. Isaac Heaney got back to some form. I thought, this is going to be a tough game.
Yeah.
And it was anything
Wasn't
but.
it?
It was just an amazing game of football from the Cats' perspective.
Yeah, they just mauled them in the middle, didn't they? And then I think, as we said, our forward line was able to overpower what was an undermanned defence. So I think you called it last week when you said, from the Cats' perspective, you feel like you've got it over them now, and that's that for another few years, hopefully.
Yeah, that's certainly an impact like that. I was down in the Sydney rooms after the game, and they were as flat as a pancake. I spoke to Tommy Papley. He kindly fronted up, and they were devastated. The night did get off to a brilliant start, and I'm not just talking about the flag unfurling, but the first goal of the game.
Goal.
Sammy Simpson.
How good.
He comes into the team as a late change. Johnny Segler went out, Simpson in, Mitch Nevitt came in as the sub. It was brilliant to see him back out there playing.
To be honest, full disclosure, I didn't realise there'd been a late change till he's got a set shot. He's got a set shot, and I was like, Sammy's playing. And then he nailed it because he's silky, Mr. Precision.
Silky. He just creates things. Things happen when he's got the ball in hand or his running patterns are spot on. You know, little funny things you just notice. And I'm not... okay, it's going to appear as though I'm saying this after the fact. I brought... As you know, last week when we recorded the podcast, I brought my kids down to watch the open training session. My boys were asking about Sam Simpson.
Who's that number 37?
Yeah, but Henry, who's my son, he's a footy head like me. Yeah. He was saying, "Oh, he's training really well," and I noticed the same thing. He was super sharp in his training.
Chairman of selectors, Henry.
Yes, my 8-year-old just nailed it. But he looked just primed and ready. That he built back his body, everything that he's been through, got form in the VFL. But in that short training session, just looked, okay, you're a cut above the and this is no disrespect to the others, the younger VFL guys that you were training with. He was just ready to be back playing AFL.
Yeah, well, you can't imagine the amount of work he's put in. I know a lot was made that it was 603 days, I think, since he last played, struggling with concussion symptoms during that time. But before that, he had the really traumatic injury in the 2020 grand final. So it's been a tough few years, and I think the work that you put in over that amount of time, it's got to hold you in good stead when you come back and you are primed. And I think there's the rehab work, the work he's doing on his head, but then there's Chris Scott spoke to it after the game about his ability to front up and have a smile on his face every single time, and that stuff is somewhat intangible, I think, but it does something for you once you eventually become part of the team and how your teammates respond to you out there. So full credit to him for not only his work as an athlete, but his work as a person around the club. Yeah,
I don't think you can fake that excitement of teammates when he kicked that goal. You can tell, you can get around your teammate and you can be there, but when you truly, you know a person is so loved by his teammates, they sprint to him and they jump all over, and the smiles on their faces weren't, oh, this is just a token, I've got to get there and pat him on the back. This is, I am pumped for this guy because he's such a good person.
I think Hawke said afterwards that he's something about him, he makes us better, and I did love in his own post game that Sammy was saying that he'd planned to just cool, calm and collected if he were to kick a goal, and That went out the window, as it should.
As it should, absolutely. Well, he got things rolling. The Tommy Hawkins kicked 5, Jeremy Cameron 5. Sammy ended up with 2. Ollie Henry got the 2 as well. Brad Close, who I thought was superb on the night.
Yeah, he's back, isn't he?
Brilliant game by him. They were well led as well by the skipper, Paddy Dangerfield, through the middle of the ground. Interesting, I had a quick chat with him after the game, and I said, just made reference. I interviewed him, but also then spoke off camera. Made reference to him building.
Yes.
And he said, it's funny how you can just feel so good getting across the ground once you've got a couple of games under your belt.
Yes.
And he said at moments on Saturday night, he just said he felt like he was flying across the ground. Oh. To those watching, it looked like it.
He's a flying bull. It's not, I'm flying and I'm Brad Close. I'm flying and I am going to annihilate whatever contest I arrive at. So it's good to see him in form.
Isn't Red Bull a flying bull? There you go.
Maybe there you go. You are welcome, Danger. If they come knocking, pass them on.
Yeah. Make sure there's a bit of a kickback to Meg for that one, please, Paddy. But he was superb. 31 disposals, 7 clearances, and a comfortable 10 coaches' votes.
Yeah, and he's 5th overall.
Yes, for someone who's had a slow start.
I know. Go. I love it. Doing it for the 32-year-olds? 32?
I think a little higher. Oh, no, is he 32, 33? Okay, we'll check that one as well. We'll do a lot of checking. We're going to get to some fan questions a little bit later on. There's some terrific ones there that our listeners, 33 years old for Patrick.
You're welcome again.
Still going very, very well. We've been getting ahead of ourselves each week now as we watch the Jeremy Cameron 100 goal watch.
Were we wrong? We're not yet wrong.
No, we're not yet wrong. Do
we have some stats on how others have gone?
We do. So these are the other players, Meg, who've kicked 100 goals in a season. How many goals they were at round 6. The last person to kick 100 goals was Buddy Franklin.
Yes.
2008. He was at 30 goals. And don't forget the Jez is on 27 right now. Matty Lloyd in both 2000 and 2001 was on 28 goals. And the big G train, Fraser Gehrig, was on 27 goals as well. And
he has an extra game, is that right?
Extra game.
He's got an extra game.
I'm not saying we should get too carried away, but I certainly am.
You don't get carried away. I've got that under control. The thing is, again, as we said last week, I mean, he's slotting them from everywhere. Oh. I had great seats on the weekend, and my view of his sort of 50 metre from 10 metres off the boundary, from just in front of us here. The precision.
And what about his snaps? He had put so much work on the ball that it starts way outside the goals. Yep. It's as though it's going through for a point, and he just bends it beautifully. He's in total control of his game, of his craft of his game.
He can make the ball talk, can't he?
He certainly can. It was a brilliant win on Saturday night. It does lead into a huge Sunday afternoon game, 1:10 at the MCG. The country round. Is that what it's called?
That's the country round, yes. An annual round between the Essendon Bombers. Is that how we say their official title? Yep. The Essendon Bombers. You're in the media, you know this sort of stuff. Geelong Cats. I was thinking on this. Do you consider yourself, you a country boy?
Of course.
Okay.
100%.
No hesitation.
I will not hear otherwise because we're...
Are your kids country boys?
Yeah, I know Geelong's getting bigger and bigger and the region's getting bigger, but when you go through... maybe... I don't know about my kids, but when we went through the... what do they call it? Pathways of junior and state level we were Vic Country. Okay. We were the country boys. We were with the Gippy boys, we were Bendigo, the Murray boys, the Ballarat crew.
The white with the navy V on it.
Yes,
Is
correct.
Right?
We were the country boys against those Metro so-and-sos who thought they were pretty good. Pretty sure Metro had us most times.
Did they?
Them, which irritated us greatly. Of course we're country.
Okay. I have moved from Melbourne to Geelong, and I would like to... I have this constant discussion with Elise Coventry, one of our coaches, about whether I'm a city girl or a country girl. And every time she mentions that I'm a little bit country, what a compliment. Yeah. But I know in my heart of hearts I'm not.
You're a big city girl.
I'm a big... Well, hang on. I'm hybrid at the moment. But anyway, a country game to celebrate.
Yeah, it'll be... And given... it's going to be an interesting one. Essendon have got the short break, given they played yesterday. That's just something they've got to deal with. But I thought, other than getting run over the top of and a terrific performance by Collingwood, Essendon were very impressive.
Yes, they
up
were.
to a point in yesterday's game. And I was watching that to enjoy the spectacle. I love the Anzac Day game. I love the crowd. I love the passion. I love the incredible Anzac observance ceremony, and the silence that 95,000 people can have. There's no disrespect. There's no one trying to be a hero and talking or yelling at it. It is so silent. I love that. It shows that respect. And then the game and the heaving crowd and the toing and throwing. Yeah, it was brilliant. Watching it though, I was watching it with a Geelong hat on as well, thinking, "Oh, okay, that's going to worry us a little bit. We'll be able to take advantage of that." Essendon have improved more than I thought they had. Watching them yesterday in a big game, they were found short, and I think they fumbled crucially in the last quarter.
Yeah,
and
they were
Collingwood
saying the
clean.
fundamentals got the better of them late.
Yeah, but you throw Zach Merritt back into that Essendon lineup, and they will be better for having that experience against Collingwood. It's going to be a tough ask on Sunday. It'll be a terrific game.
Where do you think it'll be won and lost?
I will always say midfield, because we saw again on the weekend Geelong dominate through the middle of the ground against a good Sydney midfield. Will our forwards get first look? Our defenders can set up. All of that sort of thing. When you look at Parrish and Merritt and Shield and Caldwell, if he plays, there'll be a little thing that'll be looked at there.
Yes, there will.
That's quite a good midfield. Sam Draper's a good ruckman. If we can... I don't think we're going to dominate like we did Saturday night, but if we can have an advantage through the middle of the ground, our forwards can get a hold of their back line again. Absolutely.
I think Brad Scott said after the game that while the fundamentals fell away at the end of in the fourth quarter for Essendon, it was the ability to get back to the contest and win the contest that is probably what he's looking at as a coach. And I know that's where we've had ascendancy, and yes, in the game on the weekend, but recent weeks in general, and with Danger's game getting bigger and better. So midfield's the answer, isn't it?
I think it is, and it so often is. And one thing just to check off as far as what the team might look like next week, Chris Scott has said that Cam Guthrie's late sub for Mitch Nevitt was a management sub, so a tactical / just management for his body, not an injury concern. So Guthrie's still there. Mitch Duncan, obviously, playing midfield but also floating across half-backs, been a huge in the last few weeks. Geelong's midfield is coming together. Tommy Atkins has gone back to that level that he was playing at last year after a quietish first couple of games. I think
Max Holmes is up and about. Wow. Your boy?
Love Max Holmes. I am.
How's he going? He's going well.
I had running, apart from my obvious super favourites in Tom Hawkins and Tom Stewart,
Goes
who
without saying.
Cherished for years, I had two players running around on Saturday night who are my two favourite young to younger players in the competition. One happened to be playing for the Sydney Swans, and his name's Isaac Heaney, and the other one is Max Holmes, who I am unabashed, crazy fans of both of those players. I was pre-game trying to convince Isaac how good the surf was down here and how good the lifestyle is. And everything.
It's just playing your role. It's playing your role, Lingy. But Max Holmes, there was one clearance where he just ran away from Warner, and I thought, you are in some form.
Yeah, because Warner can run. Seriously run.
And speaking of midfield, though, you mentioned the Essendon ruck approach at the moment. They've got the two
Draper
big men.
And Phillips, yep.
Our ruck on the weekend, and DK in there. What did you think?
Well, when the late change happened and Segler went out, I was starting to scratch my head. I'm like, okay, so Blitz can do it because he's just remarkable and can do everything. I'm like, where's he get his chop out? And I thought it's going to have to be Sav.
Yeah.
But I didn't love the thought of that because that pulls Sav out of a position that he's still learning. He's still very much learning that role. I thought, is that going to unsettle him or whatever it might be? I didn't think De Koning would come and do it because I thought he's just so good down back. He handled himself beautifully.
Didn't he?
I don't necessarily want him playing in the ruck because I get worried about him getting a knee or
just
just
a Ferrari.
Yeah. What the old saying, you don't send a Ferrari to plough the field. But sorry, Ruckman. It's just a fact. Excuse me, Brad Ottens, don't Don't hate me. But he handled it beautifully, and Blitz handled it beautifully, and there was no drop-off. There was no disadvantage in the hit-outs where the Cats midfielders were forced to be on the back foot.
Yeah. And just a small one, I love DK's. I love his hands. I love his handballing. I think his ability to release teammates into space is pretty special. I remember noticing it for the first time in that great Collingwood game, maybe round 3 last year in the fourth quarter. That's getting a bit specific, but I know the fans of the pod will know what I'm talking about.
They know exactly what you're talking about.
And so to see him around the ball is really exciting. To think that he's in a position where he's got the backline stuff sorted down pat and can move around is exciting as well, because he's a young player.
Yes, he certainly is an exciting young player. We better take a break in a sec, Meg, and get to some questions from our wonderful listeners. Before we do, the VFL had a bye on the weekend, so we can't talk about form lines of potential people coming in or out, though it's going to be hard to make any changes to that team from Saturday night. In the VFLW, the Cats taking on the Western Bulldogs. A nice, comfortable victory on this occasion, Meg.
2-1 Simpson. So we've got the siblings are getting it done this weekend for the Cats. I was there at Deakin University on the weekend and watched them. I mean, the girls sort of dominated a little bit, so it was wonderful to see. And Chloe Shear's getting some midfield minutes, which I know she'd like to translate to the AFLW. And the rest of the girls they're just going well. 4 wins on the trot.
Top of the ladder.
Top of the ladder. 4 wins on the trot. So we'll see how they go. I'm very excited for our backline AFLW coach and head coach of the VFLW, Elise Coventry. That's the second mention she's got this podcast. So hope you're listening, Flinny.
Are you?
Please play me off centre half back.
Yeah, are you angling for something here, Meg? You worried about your position?
No, come on. Love my position.
Yes.
Confident. No,
Very,
it's
very
great. And things are starting to hum as they were last year. So it's exciting to be here at the moment.
Fantastic. So going along very, very nicely. Let's take that break. We'll be back with your questions straight after this. Welcome back. It is great having you with us on to the final bell. We want to get to your questions now. We're recording this on Wednesday, and it is magnificent out there. Just looking at GMHBA Stadium, the giant crane on the oval, doing part of that stand.
Progress.
Yes, it's exciting. Being here on Saturday night and being out on the ground, Meg, when we were doing the flag unfurling, which we were talking about right at the start, you're just using the imagination a little bit and understanding about how good this ground is going to look when that is all done. It's going to be quite spectacular.
It's going to be amazing. I mean, to think about the atmosphere with, what was it, under 30 on the weekend?
Yeah, it would have been
full
well
house,
under
but
30,
it was mid-20s, I think, crowd-wise. To think of 40, I'm excited.
I liked a comment from a particular board member. I'm not sure I'm supposed to say this, but he did assure me that even when it's all done and it's 40,000 people, it'll still be filled with 39,500 Geelong supporters, and just allow a small allocation for the opposition.
Just a small. I wonder if they'll still be in that pocket over there.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea.
No behind the goals.
Nothing wrong with having a home ground advantage.
That's absolutely right. And I was sitting next to my teammate, recently retired Maddie McMahon, and we were speaking about the accuracy of the players on the weekend. Do you reckon that's got something to do with? This is where you kick your set shot practice every week, and
no doubt
the visuals are the same and your execution's the same.
Understanding the ground, and it was a perfect night. There was not a breath of wind, which helps. But I agree. When you feel comfortable and familiar with the ground, and even the shots from down almost near where the player race is, how often they'd kick from there, either just coming out for training or just going into training. They nail them more than they'd nail them from the same spot on a different ground.
Totally. Yeah, it's something to do with your vision. It's and the comfort levels.
Agreed. All right, let's get to some questions. We do appreciate everyone who sends questions in every single week. We love hearing from you. This one's from Eric, Meg, and it is for you. Do you see Georgie Prespakis, or G-Prez, as Eric, becoming League BNF this year?
Huge question. Thanks for the question, Eric, and the interest. Look, who could say who's going to be League BNF this year? What I will say is she absolutely has it within her capabilities and her talent, and on top of her talent, her work ethic. I mean, we saw her take her game to the next level the season just gone, and I honestly, no one moves through in the women's game. I haven't seen anyone move through a stoppage with the speed that Georgie does, and I think once she gets that. I know she's working a lot on her skills, and I can't imagine trying to execute a kick going that fast. So once she gets that better and better and continues to improve and she hits the scoreboard with it, she made her debut in the All-Australian team the year just gone. So,
and the game style you appeared to play last year,
yep.
and I assume we're going to build on for this year, is probably going to suit her style of play, isn't it? There is a genuine desire to take the ball forward and play with some speed with the ball in hand.
Absolutely, and I think we're going to really try and get comfortable with the, maintain possession and keep the ball in possession for longer, and no one can touch her. So I think as you say, that'll all work in her favour. But we've got an enormous pre-season ahead of us where she knows this, she's got to put the work in like we all do, and if you do that, she won't be able to help but improve, and to improve from where she already is means that things like League BNFs are well within her, they could be within her future.
Well, let's hope so, Eric. Thank you for that question. This one's from Sean. If Asava maintains his role, how does that influence the roles of Collar and Jack Henry? Sean, that's a great question.
Great question, Sean.
You have Sam de Koning, Tom Stewart as just locks. You've got probably one more place for a genuine tall defender. Now, I think Jack Henry's flexibility means that he's not necessarily just a tall defender.
Totally.
Collar's form at the moment is just outstanding.
Well, it was such a marked improvement in the stability to behind the ball when he came back into the team. Love you, Collar, but I had underestimated his influence on that stability, and when he came back in, it really shored us up. So he's a lock.
There's another one from Sean just down the page a little bit on my questions here. Is Collar in career best form? I think he is as far as confidence with defending, but he's always been a really solid defender, but also being able to get involved in the attacking side of the game feels that way. So if Collar's a lock, you need the smaller type defenders. Now Jed Buse will come back in at some stage, and he's obviously a really important player. You've got the flexible players of probably Mitch Duncan, Zach Tui, Mark O'Connor, those types of players who can come through there, through the middle, through the wing.
I'm looking at you searchingly because I don't have an answer for Sean. I think because then you look at Jack Henry playing forward, and you think, well, there are a fair few locks in that forward line as well. So of course, it's great to be back in the position where you're thinking, how are people going to fit into the 22? But
Zach Guthrie's, for me, way he's playing right now is locked away.
Absolute lock.
Talk about confidence in one-on-one. I love his story. We've spoken about it before in the podcast, but the difference in some people's development take multiple years. Others, like Nick Dacos, can day one just be phenomenal. Zach Guthrie's taken those years, but is now a crucial part of that back line. So he's not going anywhere.
No, he's not going anywhere. And a bit like Sam Simpson, I think, just putting the work in and turning up every, day in, day out to hold him in great stead. And now he's everyone at the club's he's a fan favourite. He's a favourite amongst everyone here. And I actually think, Z played particularly well in the first couple of weeks. I think when everyone's form was a bit questionable and we weren't nailing it as a cohesive side, I thought Zach played really well.
I'd like to throw in too, when I mentioned the Zach Tui, Mitch Duncan, Mark O'Connor as those flexi defender type thing. Jack Bowes is in that group as well.
Yes,
I think
of course.
His ability to go back there, but also play through the wing, play the middle, a good kicker of the ball. Just on Asava, I love what he's doing. I love his growth, and I love the way we are now 6 games in to his career as a defender. Now, he's not going to get that right every single week. There is going to be, it's just a fact. Yep. I'm not trying to talk him down. There is a fact. There will be a game this year. There could be a game next year, whenever it is. A forward might get a hold of him.
Totally, yes.
Matty Scarlett, the greatest defender in the Cats' history, had games where forwards got a hold of him. It's just a fact. You get your starting points a little bit wrong. The ball comes in with a little bit less pressure. The opposition forward line is functioning beautifully and they isolate perfectly and the kicks are to advantage. Somebody's going to kick a number of goals. That doesn't mean it no longer works as a server, as a defender. You think,
not.
Let's abandon this. It's then how he learns from those moments. He has 5 kicked on him 1 week. Okay, does he go back into his shell and stop backing himself to mark the ball the following week? Or does he realise what he got wrong the week before and then still go back to backing himself? That's part of the evolution. Yeah. His best years as a defender...
they're ahead of him.
Are probably 2 years away.
Oh, and that's the thing. I think he's always got up his back pocket. The thing that we love to say as defenders is blame the midfield. No, absolutely. I agree with
you. You are joking, but not joking.
I'm joking, but not joking. The reason I say that is because I think as the pressure and the contest up the ground has improved, I mean, you do have more license and more ability to mark the ball as a key defender because it's coming in, a little bit higher and with a little bit less precision. Which, how do you then become a key defender and lock down someone if it's coming in quite easily and you're getting isolated? That's he probably hasn't had that too much yet, but that's another phase of development. I think the thing that I've spoken to our head coach about and I've spoken to Dan about, and I'll have to sound Kel out about, is the fact that so many of them can be that intercept player. So I'm really fascinated with, Tom Stewart's had 4 All-Australians playing as that key interceptor. Now it seems like Sav's got the license to mark the ball, but each of them at any given moment is really adept in that part of their game and how they empower each other to do that. And you're not getting in each other's way and you're not thinking, I'm the man who's supposed to take the intercept mark. I think that speaks a lot for the leadership down back and where Stewie's at. And I'd love to take that into our team.
Because it's too easily shut down, isn't it? If it's only one, if it's only Tom Stewart who can do it, we'll try and take Tom Stewart out of it. We'll
make him
run
accountable.
Stewie somehow works a way through that. Yeah. But when you're not sure, okay, well, if we do that with Stewart, but Radaglia is going to start taking intercept marks. De Koning takes intercept marks. Zach Tui comes back off the wing, takes intercept marks.
Jack Henry, when he's back, he marks the ball.
Yeah. This one's from Damo. Damo, I'm not going to touch this one.
Oh, Lingy.
Lingy, can you confirm the great Cam Mooney has had a rinse put through his hair? Damo, I've always considered myself at least reasonably smart, and I'm going to choose to be reasonably smart here. There is no way I'm going to answer that question. I can confirm comfortably that Cam Mooney ran a little rinse through his hair at different times throughout his playing career.
Okay. Yeah, well, you're an evidence-based
there is no doubt about that because he just all of a sudden had some nice long blonde streaks.
All I have to say is, don't we all? Yeah. We're getting on a bit in life and we've all got greys to cover.
I reckon Moons is in almost career best nick just in general.
Really?
He looks as fit as a fiddle. He's in a suit right now. He's stunning.
Should go and play in the waffle. Come back for West Coast.
He does. He looks so fit. He plays basketball, social basketball. The team's, it's a ridiculous team. It's made up of, I think it's him, Gary Ablett Jr., Josh Jenkins, who I'm told can still dunk.
His basketball team.
Yeah. And Gaz, like he is at everything he ever touches, is brilliant.
Yeah.
And just does
part of his pre-game routine, wasn't it?
Yeah. There's and I think he saw himself as a possible basketballer back when he was 17 or 18 before he...
Why weren't they saying that along with the Bont and Pendlebury?
Yeah, well...
Maybe they did, I don't know.
I'm not sure Gaz went through the same pathways. He was just dominating in a bit of street ball maybe. I don't know.
Oh my gosh. Just one question, follow up. If you're not going to answer the main one, do you know who Damo is? Have you got a sense of who Damo is based on that question?
It feels stitch-uppy, that one.
Right.
So I don't know who Damo is. But I'm not going to say anything about Moons except positive stuff because when I run into him, he'll still get me in a headlock, Damo, and I'm still a little bit scared of him.
The next one's for you too.
Oh, yes.
Lingy.
I can answer this one comfortably, Emma.
Who gave a more intimidating spray, Bomber or Scotty?
Bomber all the way. And that's not because Scotty cooked us once, I reckon. I was only a player under him for 1 year. We played Gold Coast.
Successful year.
Yes, it was a fun year. He didn't have many chances to spray because I think we lost 2 games for the year. I think it was 2. I should know. we played the Gold Coast Suns in their first season. Game up at Metricon Stadium. It was, I reckon. Oh, I couldn't tell you the score, but it was pretty even at quarter time. In a game we were expected to just destroy them. Yeah. We were a little bit through the motions-y sort of feeling, and it wasn't overly pretty.
Thinking about your coffee on Broadbeach.
Yeah. And you never intentionally do that, but I think there was a bit of subtlety to that. And Chris got to this point in time, even though all of us knew him from his Brisbane playing days, we'd played against him, we were all a little bit intimidated by him. He'd never let us have it. He came down and gave us a nice cook, and it was, okay, all right, let's get rolling here. And we won the game comfortably. But I had Bomber from my very first year of AFL football, was his first year as coach. So I was young, impressionable, insecure, just trying to get a game, scared most of the times. So even though his sprays probably weren't that much more vicious, and they weren't, because he wasn't a sprayer, he wasn't. But some of the things he said when you're young and insecure, they just cut you deeper.
I know, it's the classic, I'm not angry, I'm disappointed.
Oh, and when you felt like you let Bomber down, who we just cherished as a coach, it had that of like, I don't want to let him down here. He's asked me to do this job, and I know I'm getting beaten right now, but I just don't. And then he did have moments where even when you'd played well, but it wasn't well, he would get a little sarcastic.
Oh, yeah.
And he'd walk in the room, and this is younger days, so pre any of our really good success, and he'd just look around the room, and he knew that he could go at me and Matty Scarlett a bit, because we'd sort of take it and it'd send a message through the rest of the group.
It's and leadership for you.
Yeah, and he'd look at us and he'd just go, "Oh, well, Lingy, you're fine. You had 25 touches today. You did fine. Don't worry about the rest of your teammates or anything like that." And the fact we didn't win, you did okay. You just sit there and relax, all right? And I'm like,
that would destroy me. But I'm putting that one in the back pocket.
Yeah, and then he'd refer back later on. He's like, "Oh no, but as long as you got the footy, that's all that matters." And I'm just going from feeling okay about myself, like I've tried my hard, I've done, to just feeling about 2 centimetres tall.
Yeah, okay. I don't know that we want to make people feel 2 centimetres tall, but it is an interesting way to manage the whole individual versus the team. Yeah.
Yep. No, that was
the art of the spray, hey?
What a coach. He was an incredible coach, Bomber Thompson, as Chris Scott certainly is as well. Emma, thank you so much for that question. Steve asks us, Meg, why is Holmes being played inside mid? Aren't his strengths better utilised playing outside?
Well, he's your boy, so you take us away.
I'll say this, Steve, the very best players, the greatest players in the league, think of every one of them, and you think of Ablett, you think of Judd, you think of Scotty Pendlebury, I'm going to miss a whole heap, Patrick Dangerfield, Joel Selwood, every one of those truly, truly great players, your immediate picture in your head goes to them breaking away, kicking a great goal in the run, breaking through the middle of the ground and hitting up a forward on the run, and you go, wow, how superb are they on the outside? But the reason they are truly great, Steve, is they won the ball on the inside and they won the ball on the outside. They had the ability to win it on the inside and get to the outside and break the game open. They had the ability to be getting reasonably well held by a good opposition player for a period of time, and then change up what they're doing to go and win it another way and impact the game another way. That's where Max Holmes can go to in his footy, I reckon, Meg. He's so good on the outside. He's so incredible. But I am drooling over how good he can be because of his ability to win it on the inside and impact on the outside as well. That's the special players.
Yeah, I'm going to take that one and refer back to question 1 about Georgie Prasparkas and say, Georgie, please refer to this minute of the podcast, because that's exactly what you're talking about. Someone whose ability to win it on the inside, but also has an incredible running capacity, because second phase is where it's done, right? We saw Collingwood yesterday just steamroll in the fourth quarter because of their ability and Dacos, not to add our names to the list of people singing his praises, but ability to play, as you say, inside and out.
Yep, that's what the very best do. So, Steve, hopefully that's where Maxi Holmes is taking his game to. You can see it happening right now. So I love the only other thing I'll just add, sorry to go on about this, is I played on such a variety of players when I used to play my role. The easiest to stop were the ones who were brilliant, outstanding, but only in one facet of being able to get the football and impact the game. Those who stood on the outside and would use their skill or their speed or their whatever you want to call it, but had to have the ball delivered to them. If I got my starting points right and we as a team were playing with a really good balance and elements, easy to stop. Yeah. Very, very easy to stop. The ones who felt impossible to stop, the Simon Blacks of the world and these types of players, you go, okay, I can run with him in open space I'm holding on because their work rate is so huge. And then we get back to a contest and he goes inside and I think I'm all over him and got him covered, but all of a sudden he's got his hands on it. He's drawn me plus another tackler to him, released, Nigel Lappin's released, bang, out they go, and Brisbane are gone.
See you later.
And they're the special ones. So, they're the players I love most.
Yeah,
they're the ones I really get excited about.
You know, I think we speak about talent a lot, but work rate is so huge when it comes to total excellence, right? And I think that's what you're speaking about, just going to work day in, day out.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you so much to all of our people who sent questions in there. The last one on my list was that other one from Sean about Collar and his career best form. Hopefully we've answered that one, Sean. Really appreciate it. Please keep those questions coming in. We'll get to them every single week. Huge game, as I mentioned, coming up this Sunday, the country round for the Cats taking on the Bombers, 1:10 at the MCG. It will be an exciting game. It's an Essendon home game. And given the way Essendon are travelling, I know it didn't quite work out for them yesterday, but they're up and about. I reckon there'll be a big crowd for that one, and hopefully we get a heap of Geelong supporters to make enough noise going back the other way.
I reckon I'll be there.
Excellent. I can remember back, this is going back a long time when I was a kid supporter, going to some of those Geelong Essendon games at the MCG. The famous Gary Ablett Senior kicks 14 goals 7. The Cats lose because Paul Salmon kicks 10. Those types of games. The Essendon fans can get real loud, real up and about. So let's hope we get a few Cats fans there to match them a little bit and remind them, hang on a second, the Cats are going okay. Yeah.
Have they got the most rivalries in footy?
Geelong?
No, Essendon.
Oh, Essendon, sorry. Yeah. It's funny. I've become really good friends with Brad Johnson, former Western Bulldogs, absolute legend. And you ask him, what's the one straight away, Essendon. Essendon doesn't even hesitate. Talk to North Melbourne people.
I grew up a North Melbourne fan.
They go back to them, Essendon trying to block North Melbourne from getting into the original VFL way back there. Talk about holding on to things.
So we're doing our bit for the competition if we win on the weekend.
Carlton fans hate Essendon. Collingwood fans hate Essendon. Hawthorn fans from the 80s, they don't like Essendon. But Essendon are playing some good footy, so we'll get a great contest on Sunday. We'll be back next week, Meg.
I'll be here.
Excellent. Hopefully talking about a Cats win over the Bombers. Thank you so much again for everyone who sent a question in. Thank you for listening. We really appreciate your support. We'll be back next week.